Hi, I'm Jessica Rector, your host and founder of This Man Thing, where we help men think bigger, be bigger, and play bigger because we want them to gain more freedom, more confidence, and more success. You can find out more about us at thismanthing.com, or you can also join our free Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/This Man Thing. Again, facebook.com/groups/This Man Thing, where men are having real conversations and building much needed community support and camaraderie with other men. Please help me welcome my guest today, Phil Reynolds. He is an ACE certified personal trainer and nutrition coach. He helps his clients experience more happiness, more energy, more confidence, and keep their sanity from exercise and delicious nutrition. Please welcome Phil. Thank you so much for being here with me today, Phil.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. And I'm so glad to be on this podcast with you.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about you and, whether you want to talk about how you got started in health and fitness and why you think it's important for other people. Tell us something that maybe we haven't heard other people say.
Well, I mean, there's the hero's journey that I think a lot of people go on where they go through life and then they hit like a rough spot and then they kind of find out who they are, find out, what you're really made of, and then, where you really want to go instead of just kind of aimlessly going through life, finding purpose and drive and, you're discovering your own personal destiny. So, I started off, I had a passion for, campus ministry. I worked with a lot of small groups, worked with, men's groups and, helping them in their lives and, their walk. And then eventually I, ended up, venturing out and I found out that, this ministry thing isn't, for me or, my calling. And so there was something else I knew that I needed to do. And so I had times where times just got really tough. It was like eventually got to a point where I felt a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily call it depression at the time. I just felt bad. I just felt like, man, things aren't going well. And I felt like, is this going to be how my life is going to go forever? I had this mindset like that. And
well, what did that look like, Phil? Give us an example of what that looked like.
Well, it came down to like coping with alcohol, to just not being very social, being, locked into myself and my own little world and just, isolating myself. And
so give me like details of what that looks like, because there's going to be people listening that they're like, well, I'm not sure that is me because I stay at home a lot, but I just stay at home a lot, right? That's what they tell themselves. Whereas really it's isolation or, no, I have a couple drinks every night. That's just how I am, when really it's alcoholism. So what does that really look like?
Well, it looks like if you feel like, it's one thing to have a drink, and it's another thing to say, I want to have a drink because I need to feel better because I've had, a rough day, or I've had, I'm having a bad month, I deserve this, or, when you start using that kind of terminology, you're using it as a coping mechanism instead of going to something that's better, something that's more, that's going to benefit you more instead of using it like a crutch per se. So like, if you're like, say you're going through physical therapy and you're in a wheelchair, if you, always stay in that wheelchair and you don't get up and try to move around, it's not going to help you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the same thing. If you constantly depend on something like alcohol or other substances, it's going to keep you in that the state of weakness, the state of depression, or whatever you're trying to cope from. And so, I didn't necessarily acknowledge that, it was the alcohol or something like that I needed to get rid of, but it was just like I needed something else. And for whatever reason, I just felt like, well, I also had learned a lot from church, obviously. And then, I had some great ways to help people, and they're like, why am I not using this on myself? Also I've learned, from Kiro shamanism, which is like Peruvian. Shamans were the advisors, the counselors, the herbal healers. They had a lot of different roles. And then some of their roles was helping people with their psychology, helping people with their mind. And so I learned a lot of that. And then there's a lot of other stuff I was getting into that was like just about how to deal with the mind, from either The Power of Now with Eckhart Tolle. And so I'm like, why am I not using this on myself? And like, if I do use it, then I should be able to accomplish something like get in the best shape of my life, And so for whatever reason, I was like, this is going to be my new goal. And it gave me some kind of like drive to, for one thing, I wanted to make sure I had the longevity to experience the life and the quality of life that I wanted. Right. And so, we hear about all the, guys can be kind of sci-fi, nerds and stuff. I'm kind of a sci-fi geek too. And so I'm looking at these technologies.
If you are, there's no judgment.
Hey, so, like no judgment, right? So, I'm looking at these technologies that I want to see, and during the 2020s and 2030s, 2040s, I'm like, there's going to be some cool stuff coming out, man. I'm like, if my lack of health, my own personal health management is keeping me from witnessing that, like, man, that would suck. And so that was honestly part of one of my motivations.
Okay, that's crazy to think 2040.
Yeah.
Hello, that's crazy that you're even talking 2040.
Right. Honestly, like, I would be like a grandpa, I guess, but I want to be able to experience those years. And it comes down to how am I living my day to day right now? Like, yeah. I started getting pre-hypertension and, I've always had low blood pressure. And I'm like, man, I got to do something about this. And so I stopped, having the margarita lunch breaks and, the beer lunch breaks and started watching what I was eating and, getting the, food in the Tupperware, the meal preps. And for whatever reason, like, they really started helping like my brain chemistry. And like, it's not really till recently I knew why that was. And that's just, exercise has very similar effects as like Ritalin or Prozac. It helps your brain chemistry with the serotonin and dopamine levels. And the serotonin is just like a feel-good hormone or neurotransmitter that just makes you feel better. And so, like, I wasn't realizing that, but my own exercise was actually helping pull me out of my funk. And so
when you exercise, it does something to your brain to make you feel better?
Yeah, there's actually studies now that show that exercise is actually going to help you with your brain chemistry. Like, if you're in a funk state, you can have the tendency to want to be, I want to lay in bed to feel better, or I want to be less active to feel better. But what you really should do is go for a run or, use a jump rope or do some push-ups or something and get a little active. And that's going to actually help you a lot more than if you were just to stay in bed.
Okay, so where does the switch happen? You're in bed, you don't want to get out of bed, and you certainly don't want to get out of bed to go work out. So how do you tell your brain to take action in order to actually get out of bed, which you don't want to do, to go work out, which you don't want to do, to help you feel better? Like, how can we draw the line for people? Because it's even hard for me to wrap my brain around, okay, I need to go work out, and that's going to help me feel better. Mm-hmm. Like, in my brain, it'll help my brain feel better, which then will talk to my body to help my body feel better. Right?
Well, there's a couple different things you can do with that. Like, you can do these mental tricks to where, like, I had times where maybe I'd had a breakup and I didn't feel like going to the gym. I didn't feel like doing anything, but I was just like, but I convinced myself, I want to go and do just a little bit. That's it. I'm going to leave, do a little bit and then leave. Then once I got there, I started, got the blood pumping and, it's kind of even started feeling better. I was like, maybe do just a little bit more. And then eventually I did a whole workout that I would normally do. And when I was leaving, I was like, man, I felt so much better. I'm glad I did my whole workout. But that may not work for some people. Some people are like, I don't even feel like doing a little bit, right? And so
what I'm thinking, Phil, is that how do you get someone who's like, I don't even want to go to the gym because I know there's people out there like me. I know I'm not the only one. That once I get there, I'm okay. But it's the fact of actually getting there.
Uh-huh. That is about forming habits and routines. Now, this may sound stupid, but you may want to do something as little as just driving to the gym, sitting in the parking lot, and then going home. That sounds weird, but it builds in a pattern in your brain that the trip to the gym isn't as bad anymore because you've done it repeatedly. And now eventually you're going to say, well, my goal is only to go to the gym and then go to the gym, sit in the parking lot, and then go home. It sounds stupid, but it's a small habit. And so when you start
and think, I just spent my time going to this place, to the gym, to sit in the parking lot, that's a waste of my time. Why?
It's a waste of your time. So you might just go ahead and get in the gym.
I may just have to go ahead and walk into the gym just so I didn't waste my time driving here.
But you got in your mind, you're just going to the gym. I'm just going to the gym, sitting in the parking lot just for a second, and then heading back home. That's all I'm going to do. But then once you get there, you're like, I'm already here. Might as well go inside.
The thing is you also have to be dressed for going to the gym. So it's not just about going to the gym, sitting in the parking lot.
Right. Yeah, you have to be ready.
Put the effort in to put on the clothes in order to go to the gym to sit in the parking lot.
That's right. All right. You got to start somewhere. So, and that's just, that's just the thing is that, you're going to have these certain stress thresholds or, places of starting. Like I usually get, I might be able to take the camera over and just draw a little graph for you. But so what I do for people is, I'm dropping on the side. So I'll just put it like this. You might be able to see me here. And what I do is I show Newton's law of acceleration. It looks like a graph, like you got like this. So when you start in here, there's not a lot of progress, right? But then when you work your way up, you're slowly progressing and you're making leaps and bounds, and then this acceleration as you're gaining momentum. So when you're starting off here,
to see that on audio, Phil.
You're not going to see it on the audio. So, if you're on audio, I'll tell you what. I'll make a link for you guys so you can see the acceleration graph. But you can just look up Newton's law of acceleration, and so when you're starting off at the low end, there's not going to be much progress. You're not going to feel like you're doing a lot, but what you're doing is you're creating a routine, you're creating habits, which are going to help you to later make greater and greater progress. And so it's important to have progress. It's just progress equals happiness. That's what I've come to find.
Yeah, and it's also not about like the big picture, right? I mean, it is about the big picture, but when you're just starting off, it's about the small little incremental steps. I always say, like, people get so overwhelmed by the big picture, so they don't want to do anything. They just stay being stuck. But it's really about just taking that first action and doing that progressively over time. That's what leads to transformation. That's what actually really leads to change. Right, is those small incremental steps over time. So let's go back to when you mentioned about the, you don't know if you call it depression, but that you were feeling bad.
Yeah.
How does health and fitness affect and help something like that? Because there's so much stigma around that we don't want to admit it to ourselves. But then how can we implement health and fitness to not only help us get out of depression, but help us to maybe even be happy? Right.
Well, there's a lot to it. I mean, like we said before, you have the brain chemistry with the serotonin, but there's also the effects of just, you're looking better, you're feeling better, and it does something for your self-image. Your mind and your body are very tied together. They're not two separate things. They're one unit. And I was even reading about even how this life evolves. It depends on whether you believe in evolution or creationism. But as far as an organism evolving, it had to move in order to survive, and its brain function increased as its movement was able to increase. And so there's strong ties to that. It's like, you got to get moving in order to, in order to progress, in order to be happy. It's like, you can't stay stagnant or else you're just going to weaken. Even, as people age, like, how do you want to age? Do you want to be someone who's using a walker? Or I saw a video today where this lady was dancing at 98. I'm like, yes. That's like, it's fun and it's great. And it's like, man, that's how you want to live life, right? You want to be able to move and dance and, experience life, even at 98.
Yeah.
And so it's just about that. And it's also about not taking life too seriously, and realizing that life does get better. It's like, when you're working out, you see that, you're progressing in an exercise, whether you're lifting 10 pounds to begin with, now you're lifting 20, now you're lifting 30, now you're lifting 40, or, whatever it is. And it's like, wow, this is, if I keep at this, then I can continually get stronger. I can get fitter. I can go for these, marathons and then some people's, first marathon is maybe really tough, but then like once they've achieved more, it's like, well, they're really doing well. They're not, they're getting better and better times. The progress is really what's key here. And that's what I explain to people is that, you got this acceleration graph that your progress is what you want to do. And it can be for some people, they may want to take it slow. Like, it doesn't have to be a 90-day transformation. Like, when you think about progress, it may be for some people 5 years, but hey, then the rest of your life, you're just maintaining or getting, a little bit better and better. And so, there's a lot of marketing to where your transformation has to happen within 30 days or 90 days. And then people feel like a failure, if they don't reach that. And it's not about that. It's just about not quitting. And if you get tired, learning not to quit, learning to just rest and then recuperate and keep going,
Well, I have this friend who put out this post that was so powerful to me, that I was writing my third book and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to finish it. And it was like one day turned into weeks and months. And he put this post out and he said, instead of setting goals, I want you to set habits. And so he said, if you're wanting to lose 50 pounds, if you're wanting to lose weight, don't say I want to lose 50 pounds in a month or 2 months. Because if you don't, then you're going to feel like a failure. Then you're going to go back to your old habits of eating junk and not working out. And you're going to say, okay, well, I'm a loser. I just give up. I'm not going to do it. He said, but instead dedicate to working out like 30 minutes or an hour a day, and do that every day. Create that habit and you'll lose the 50 pounds. And it'll be a habit that even after you lose the 50 pounds, you'll still be doing it, because it's not about the 50 pounds, it's about being healthy, right?
Right.
And he gave the same example with writing a book. Like, say you're not going to write a book by such and such a date. I'm going to spend 30 minutes or an hour every day writing a book. And so that's what I did. And I finished the book in a month, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's genius. So I completely get and understand about habits, and I'm all for those. But I also think we have to have the bigger vision in mind. So if it's not about losing weight, it's about getting healthy. Well, what does healthy look like for you, right? So what's that bigger vision that you have? And then let's break it down into, I always say, manageable mini steps. So it's so maybe you're going to start working out an hour every day, and then next month you're going to start eating more nutritious. You're only going to eat out once a month, or whatever the thing is. Maybe you're going to do them simultaneously or whatever. But it's about creating those kind of things. And when we do those consistently, we can look back and say, you know what? When I first started working out, it was so hard, and now it's easy because it's just a habit. And that's actually one of the exercises I do with my clients is like, what was once hard that is now easy, right? And I make them list like 100 things, and they're like, what? Oh my gosh. And it's like, but once you start, it's not that hard. It's not just about what's easier now. It's about look back your whole life, like riding a bike, walking, driving a car, like all the things, like finding your way in your new city or in a new school. It's like all those things. It's like, but once you do it over and over, all the things are habits, right? Brushing your teeth, eating, taking a shower, your whole day, you create these habits, these routines. And then you can look back and say, okay, well, now that I'm doing it for so long, it's not that hard. And I think that's just about perspective, right? It's just about deciding to put that in your life, deciding to create that habit in your life for the bigger picture and not short-term results. Would you agree?
Exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, some people, they give the example of, teaching their kid to walk, and if you said, well, my kid's going to start walking in a couple of weeks, and then if they don't walk in a couple of weeks, you're like, well, I'm giving up on them walking. You're like, no, you're going to have them walk. It's going to take as long as it takes, but they're going to walk.
Oh my God, that is such a good example. Or like talking. Oh, he's going to talk. He's going to talk. Oh no, I don't know when he's going to talk. I don't know. Well,
he's going to talk when he talks.
Yeah, eventually they'll start talking.
Yeah.
So, but I love that. So that's a really great, because even if people don't have kids, they've been around kids, nieces and nephews or strangers' kids, so that's a really great example. And also it keeps you from feeling defeated, right?
Right. Well, I mean, it's like, because we wouldn't give up on a kid. I mean, even if you don't have kids, you would understand, like, even if you had kids, you wouldn't want to give up on them walking or talking. You would want to support them as long as it is. And sometimes we just don't give ourselves that same support. Like, we need to give ourselves enough support. It's going to take as long as it takes. Whatever goal we want to achieve or habit we want to form, it's going to take as long as it takes. Steps, small habits. And
so why do you think people don't give up on their kids or on kids in general, but yet they give up on themselves so easily?
I don't know. It's just like a mindset. It's, for whatever reason, we have this destiny kind of mindset where, or a fixed mindset where we think, well, if this doesn't work in this certain amount of time, I'm never going to get it, or I'm never going to learn it. But as opposed to a growth mindset that, every day in every way I get stronger and stronger, you're just like, you're just growing, and you can achieve stuff. I mean, I don't know. It's like you were talking about before, like that, what was, hard at the beginning, but now is easy. You gave great examples about finding your way through a new city. I mean, I've lived in a ton of cities throughout this country, and it's just, in the beginning, you kind of feel lost. It's like a maze. And then eventually it just becomes second nature. You don't have to use your GPS. You just know where to go. And the same thing is with health and fitness, is it can be like an unknown territory, but there is math that you can learn within fitness. Like, you're hitting certain calorie counts every day, as opposed to just eating whatever you want. If you're hitting certain calorie goals every day, your metabolism adjusts and says, oh, well, your body is, this is the amount of food that we're able to get in our environment. I mean, you still have the same biology as we had thousands of years ago, essentially. And so, back then it was hunter and gatherer times, right? So you had people go out and forage for food, and eventually they would find something and they'd eat it, and they'd gorge themselves, and then their body would pack on the fat, and then they would have to wait for days before they can eat again. And it's like, so that your body is kind of accustomed to that kind of mind, that lifestyle. And so we really do have to give our body a certain amount of calories every day, and then your metabolism gets like, oh, okay, well, it's safe to maybe not store as much fat, and maybe we can burn some of this fat because, we don't need to store it anymore. We're not in a famine state. And so, what can happen in diets is people just drastically cut down on their calories, and their body's like, whoa, we're in a state of famine. There must be like war or something going on. And we need to hold on to the fat as much as possible. And so, so with those circumstances, but actually knowing your metabolism, knowing your body and what it needs is going to really help you in that journey, instead of, just going with the next fad diet out there, or, whatever it is,
So let's say someone says, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go to the gym, the new year, and I'm going to start working out. And okay, so what do they do first? They get in the gym. They've never been in a gym, or it's been years since they've been in the gym. It's going to be overwhelming. Where do I go first? What do I work on first? Do I go on a treadmill? Do I go to weights? Do I go to, machines? Where do they go first?
Well, I mean, I would say that in the very beginning, if it's just couch to the gym, they're doing the New Year's resolution thing, it would be something that you just find something that you can do where it's not like, man, I feel like quitting. If you could just, the first 30 days, I would just work on establishing a routine, and I wouldn't go so hard to the point to where you feel like quitting every day.
Okay, so let's be honest. They're going to go to the gym. These guys are going to go to the gym. They're going to see guys there in great shape who've been working out a long time. They're going to be like, okay, I want to look like that. Okay, I want to look like that. How long is it going to take me to look like that? Or they're going to look at him and say, okay, look at me and look at him, because it's human nature to compare ourselves to other people, right? So look at me and look at him. Never mind, I'm just going to leave and go home because I'm never going to get there. I'm never going to look like that, right?
Well, been there.
And working out, going to a gym, that stuff can build your confidence if you allow it to. So walk us through, if you're that guy, since you just said you've been there, if you're that guy and you go in there and you're comparing yourselves in the gym, walk us through what that looks like, what we can do, and how all of this directly affects confidence.
Okay. Well, there's a couple different people that you're going to see in the gym. You're going to see the vast majority are going to be pretty happy people. And then you're going to have some of the buff dudes in there that kind of scowl at people. But I would say for the most part, those are pretty rare. The other thing to know is everybody in the gym started somewhere. They were either overweight or they were super skinny. Those are the only two options, really. I mean, no one comes out of the womb looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And even in his book, Total Recall, he says it takes 10 years to build a world-class body. Now, he's talking about world-class like he's going to, Mr. Olympia, but I mean, even myself, like I watched Man of Steel, and I was like, man, I want to look like Henry Cavill, because he had the beard and he was looking ripped, and I'm like, man, and he was like, I think he's like 6'2", I'm 6'4", I'm like very similar build. I'm like, man, that would be a good look for me, And so you kind of, there's also, but that may not be some guys' things. They may not want to be super huge like that, but there's several different types of body styles. Like there's the Bruce Lee, there's the, there's the strong man. I mean, the strong man they're not very like aesthetic, but they're really strong. I mean and they love what they do. And then there's like the CrossFitters. There's all different kind of body styles. And so finding one that appeals to you and kind of working towards that goal. But just knowing that everybody starts somewhere, even the meatheads over there that kind of like scowl and laugh, they're like they used to be just like you, man. They were in there timid. They may have been in high school. They might have been, but for whatever reason, they held on to that insecurity. So they have to put people down in order to make themselves feel better. And honestly, that part of that is not having good, like whether it's a spiritual connection, like meditation or something like that. I mean, there's Shaolin monks that talk about, quieting your mind in combination with exercise. And part of the thing, here's another thing, is think about some of these guys might end up quitting that are now scowling at you or hating on you for being in the gym. But if you just commit to exercising, you may end up looking better than those guys. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so it's just about your own journey and not caring what other people think. But when you first start off, getting back to what I would do, like I would definitely do I wouldn't do 45 minutes of cardio. I would probably do like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most. I mean, and if 10 minutes is too much, you could do 5 minutes. And it's just
slow cardio, right? We're not talking like uphill climb, like running, just to get started.
Just to get started. So you're just doing like 5 minutes. You're going to do low intensity, I think is better. And so it's going to give you that heart rate range where it's usually around 120 or less. on your heart rate. And so you're just kind of you're just walking, and you're in a fat burning mode.
Right.
And then when you're doing exercises, I would start off with the machines. It's going to help your form. I mean, I did machines for like my first year, because I was just like, well, this is what it's going to do. I mean, free weights are going to be better for you, in the long run, but to get to where you feel comfortable using the free weights, I would just say use the machines. Unless you have a personal trainer there or someone that you're talking to that can give you that professional advice to help you with your form and to make sure you're not going to hurt yourself. But the machines are going to be fine, as long as you just stick with a rep range of, I would say, between 10 and 12 when you begin with. And what I mean is when you're lifting, you're doing like your 12th rep and you can't do a 13th rep. Okay. Or you're doing a 10th rep, but you can't do an 11th rep. I mean, you're kind of exhausting yourself in that range. And so with some people like, well, what weight do I need to use?
Don't overdo it. Do not overdo it, because
you don't
yourself the next day and you're not going to want to go back.
Right. I mean, that's true. Like
it's not about conquering every machine in the gym on the first week. Right.
I would just
do all this. I got to prove myself. It's not about proving yourself to anybody. You did it because you got there and you're doing one thing. Because I know men are going to be like, hey, I got to go prove myself. I'm now here. I got to go do all this stuff. And I think they also need to keep in mind that when they compare themselves, they're comparing themselves how they feel on the inside to how somebody else looks on the outside. Just because somebody looks like that on the outside doesn't mean that's how they feel on the inside. That's like comparing apples and oranges, right? You will always, always, always be disappointed when you compare how you feel on the inside to how somebody looks on the outside, because you'll never measure up. There'll always be something wrong with you. Always be something wrong with you. So tell us one thing that someone can do today. They're listening and they're like, yes, I'm going to take action today. I'm going to do one thing. What is that one thing, Phil?
One thing is I would commit to, if you're going to do nutrition, I would just commit to using like MyFitnessPal as a free app, and just start tracking what you're eating, and just making sure you're hitting your calories. And then I would even, like when I first started, I did push-ups at home before I ever started going to the gym. And so what some people get fearful of is, I want to get a gym membership and I'm going to be paying for it and I'm not going to be going. Mm-hmm. And that's frustrating. But what you can do is say, all right, well, I'm going to commit to working out at home for 30 days. And then once I form that habit, I'll join the gym and I'll make this part of my routine. So you can do something simple. If like regular push-ups are too hard, don't feel bad about doing like knee push-ups or something. You're just trying to get your body moving. If you're overweight, it may be, you imagine going to the gym and hitting the bench press with like hundreds of pounds. I mean, it could be too much. And so you want to get to, just start wherever you are. I mean, don't feel bad about that. And you have to start somewhere, right? Yeah. And it could be, if you don't. And it could be even just watching what you're eating and then walking. You can go for a walk for, even if it's like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and just build up to an hour. Yeah. And, there's just like, it's just getting active. I mean, walking there's so many studies of that helping you out in your brain chemistry. And so, yeah. And you know what? My mom used to say, Jessica, go for a walk. And I always thought, what the heck is a walk going to do? Right? Ridiculous. And once I started doing it, though, I was like, wow, there's something to this. I'm not sure what it is, but it was like, oh, the fresh air. And I'd be like, that sounds so cheesy, the fresh air in your face, and go out for a walk and get your mind away from things. But there's something that happens if you go out on a walk. It just clears your head. And the thing that you've been thinking about for the past hour or 2 hours that you haven't been able to solve, you go out on a walk for 10 minutes and it's like, what? Really? Oh, wow, I just thought of it. Yes, it's genius. But it just is like getting out from your surroundings and getting out from what you've been doing that's keeping you stuck, and going out there and trying something new. And yes, moving, right? Just being active. I have a lot of natural energy, and so for me to move is not that much of a challenge. But I can see how when you sit still for too long, when you sit still on your couch and watch movies too much, and people tell me I'd rather watch Netflix than go out of my house. And it's like, but you have to go out of your house. Think of how liberating it is once you start doing that. But think of how much you're confining yourself by not doing that.
Like
Yeah.
not only just getting out there and moving, but you're confining your social life, you're confining your business life, you're just restricting yourself in so many ways by choosing to not allowing yourself to have that freedom. So thank you so much, Phil. So tell us if they want to find out more about you, where they can find you, and where they can connect with you.
Okay. Well, you can hit me up on my website, philreynoldsfitness.com, and that's just PHILREYNOLDS fitness.com. And I mean, also you can see me in the This Man Thing Facebook group too.
Yes. And so again, you can find us at facebook.com/groups/This Man Thing. And again, I am Jessica Rector. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to connect with me, you can find me at thismanthing.com or Jessica at thismanthing.com. We look forward to seeing you next time and having you next time. And until then, think bigger, be bigger, and play bigger. Have a great day. Bye-bye.